into this world, tiny little thing. Before its time in a God fair. What? Girl? Yes, tiny little girl. Out into this before time, godforsaken hole called. No matter, parents unknown, unheard that he, having vanished thin air, no sooner buttoned up his breeches, she, similarly, 8 months later, almost to the tick, so no love, spared that, no love such as normally vented on the speechless infant in the home, no, nor indeed for that matter of any kind, no love of any kind at any subsequent stage, so typical affair, nothing of any note, till come up to 60, when, what? 70! Good God, come up to 70, wandering in a field, looking aimlessly for cowslips to make a ball. A few steps then stop, stare into space then on. A few more, stop and stare again, so on, drifting around, when suddenly, gradually, all went out. All that early April morning light, and she found herself in the what? Who? No! She! Found herself in the dark. And if not exactly insentient, for she could still hear the buzzing, so-called, in the ears. And a ray of light came and went, such as the moon might cast, drifting in and out of cloud, but so dulled, feeling so dulled, she did not know what position she was in. Imagine what position she was in, whether standing or sitting. But the brain, what? Kneeling, yes, whether standing or sitting or kneeling. But the brain, what? Lying, yes, whether standing or sitting or kneeling or lying. But the brain still in a way, for her first thought was, oh, long after. Sudden flash. Been brought up as she'd been believed with the other waves. In a merciful God. First thought was, oh, long after. Sudden flash. She was being punished for her sins. A number of which then further proof, if proof were needed, flashed through her mind, one after another, then dismissed as foolish. Oh, long after. This thought dismissed as she suddenly gradually realised, she was not suffering. Imagine not suffering. Indeed, could not remember offhand when she suffered less, unless of course she was meant to be suffering, taught to be suffering, just as the odd time in life when clearly intended to be having pleasure, she was in fact having none, not the slightest, in which case of course that notion of punishment for some sin or other, or for the lot, or for no particular reason, for its own sake, things she understood perfectly well, that notion of punishment, which at first occurred to her, being brought up as she would believe the other waves, in a merciful God, first occurred to her, then dismissed as foolish, was perhaps not so foolish after all. So on, all that, vain reasonings, till another thought, oh, long after, sudden flash. Very foolish, really. But what? The buzzing, yes, all the time buzzing, so-called in the ears, though actually, of course, not in the ears at all, in the skull, dull roar in the skull, and all the time this ray or beam like moonbeam, but probably not, certainly not, always the same spot, new bright, new shrewded, but always the same spot, as no moon could, no moon. Just all part of the same wish to torment, though actually in point of fact, not in the least, not a twinge so far, huh? So far. This other thought then, oh, long after, a sudden flash. Very foolish really, but so like her in a way that she might do well to groan on and off, read she could not, as if in actual agony, but could not bring herself some flaw in her makeup, incapable of the deceit, or the machine. More likely, the machine. So disconnected, never got the message, or powers to respond like numbed, couldn't make the sound, not any sound, no sound of any kind, no scream for help, for example, should she feel so inclined. Scream. Then listen. Scream again. Then listen again. No. Spared that, all silent as the grave. No part. What? The buzzing? Yes, all silent but for the buzzing, so-called. No part of her moving that she could feel, just the eyelids presumably on and off. Sure, the light reflex, they call it, no feeling of any kind. But the lids, even best at times, who feels them opening, shutting, all that moisture, but the brain still sufficiently, oh very much so at this stage, in control, under control, to question even this, for on that April morning, so it raised, and that April morning, she, fixing with her eye, a distant bell, she hastened towards it, fixing with her eye, lest it elude her. Had not all gone out, all that light of itself, without any on her part. So on it reasoned. Vain questionings, and all dead still, sweet silent as the grave. When suddenly, gradually, she realised, what? The buzzing. Yes, all dead still, but for the buzzing. When suddenly she realised words were what? Who? No! She! Realised words were coming. Imagine, words were coming. A voice she did not recognise at first. So long since it had sounded then, finally had to admit could be none other than her own. Certain vowel sounds she'd never heard elsewhere, so that people stare. The rare occasions, once or twice a year, always winter, some strange reason, stare at her uncomprehending. And now this stream, steady stream, she would never, on the contrary, practically speechless nowadays. How she survived. Even shopping, out shopping, busy shopping in the supermarket, just handing the list with the bag, old black shopping bag, then stand there waiting. And length of time, middle of the throng, motionless. Staring into space. Open as usual. It was back in her hand, the bag back in her hand, then pain going, not as much goodbye. How she survived. And now this stream, and now this stream, not catching the half of it, not the quarter, no idea what she was saying. Imagine, no idea what she was saying. She began trying to delude herself. It was not hers at all, not her voice at all, and no doubt how vital she should was on the point after long efforts when suddenly she felt, gradually, she felt her lips moving. Imagine her lips moving. As of course then she had not, and not alone the lips, the cheeks, the jaws, the whole face. What? The tongue. Yes, the tongue in the mouth, all those contortions without which no speech possible, and yet in the ordinary way, not felt at all. So intent one is on what one is saying, the whole being hanging on its words. Not only had she to give up, admit hers alone, her voice alone. But this other awful thought, long after, sudden flash, even more awful, impossible, that feeling was coming back, starting at the top. Imagine feeling coming back, starting at the top, then working down the whole machine. But no. Spared that. The mouth alone. So far, so far. Then thinking, long after, sudden flash. It can't go on. All this, all that, steady stream, strain into here, make something of it. And her own thoughts, make something of them too. All what? The buzzing. Yes, all the time. The buzzing, so-called, all that together. Imagine, whole body like gone, just the mouth, lips, cheeks, jaws, never what? Tongue, yes, lips, cheeks, jaws, tongue, never said a second, mouth on fire, stream of words, and practically you're not catching the half of the quarter, no idea what you're saying. Imagine, no idea what you're saying, it can't stop. No stopping, she who but a moment before, but a moment, couldn't make a sound, no sound of any kind. Imagine, now can't stop streaming, the whole brain begging, something begging in the brain, begging the mouth to stop. Pause a moment. If only for a moment, and no response, as if it hadn't heard or couldn't pause a second, like maddened. All that together, straight into here, piece it together, and the brain raving away on its own, trying to make sense of it, to make it stop. Or in the past, dragging up the past, flashes from all over, walks mostly walking all our days, day after day. A few steps, then stop, staring into space, then on. A few more, stop and stare again, so on, drifting around, day after day. Or that time she cried, the one time she could remember since she was a baby, must have cried as a baby. Perhaps not. Not essential to life. Just a bird cry to get her going, breathing, then no more to list. Old hag already sitting staring at her hand. Where was it? Croker's Acres, one evening on her way home. Home! A little mound in Croker's Acres, sitting, staring at her hand, there in her lap, palm upward. Suddenly saw it wet. Tears, presumably. Hers, presumably. No one else for miles, no sound. Just a tear sat and watched them dry. All over in a second. Oh, grabbing at straw. The brain flickering on its own. Quick grabbing on to the next. Bad as the voice. Worse. A little sense. All that together. Can't what? The buzzing. Yes. All the time. The buzzing. Dull roar like falls. And the beam flickering on and off. Starting to move around like moonbeam. But not. All part of the same. Keep an eye on that too. Corner of the eye. All that together. Can't go on. God is love. She'll be purged. Back in the field, morning sun. April, sink face down in the grass. Nothing but the larks. So on. Grabbing at straw, straining to hear the odd word make some sense for the whole body, like gone, just the mouth, like maddened and can't stop, no stopping it. Something she had to. What? Who? No! She! Something she had to. What? The buzzing. Yes! All the time. The buzzing, dull roar in the skull, and the beam ferreting around, painless, so far, huh? So far. Then thinking, oh, long after. Sudden flash. Perhaps something she had to tell. Could that be it? Something she had to tell? Tiny little thing. Before its time. God-forsaken hold, no love. Spared that, speeches, holidays, sparkly speeches. How she survived that time in court. What did she to say for herself? Guilty or not guilty? Stand up, woman! Speak up, woman! Stood there, staring into space. Well, half open, as usual. Waiting to be led away, clad of the hand and arm. Now this, something she had to tell. Could that be it? Something that would tell how it was, how she, what? Had been. Yes, something that would tell how it had been, how she had lived on and on. Guilty or not, on and on to be 60. Something she, what? 70! Good God, on and on to be 70. Something she didn't know herself, wouldn't know if she heard, then forgiven. God, His love, tender mercies, new every morning. Back in the field, April morning, face in the grass, nothing but the larks. Pick it up there, get down with it from there, and another few. What? Not that. Nothing to do with that. Nothing she could tell. All right, nothing she could tell. Try something else. Think of something else. Oh, long after. Sudden flash. Not that either. Nothing to do with that either. Nothing she could tell. All right, something else again. So on. Hit on at the end. Think everything. Keep on long enough. Then forgiven. Back in the what? Not that either. Nothing to do with that either. Nothing she could think. All right, nothing she could tell. Nothing she could think. Nothing she. What? Who? No. She? Tiny little thing. Out before its time, God-forsaken hold, no love, spared that, speeches all day, sparkly speeches, even to herself, never out loud, but not completely, sometimes. Sudden urge, once, twice a year, always winter, some strange reason. Sudden urge to tell, then rush out, stop the first she saw nearest lavatory, start pouring it out, steady stream, mad stuff. Half the vowels wrong, no one could follow, till she saw the stare she was getting, then die of shame, crawl back in, once, twice a year, always winter, some strange reason. Long hours of darkness. Now this quicker and quicker, the words, the brain, flickering like mad, quick grabbing on somewhere else, try somewhere else, all the time something begging, something they're begging it all to stop. Unanswered. Prayer unanswered or unheard, too faint, so on, keep on trying, not knowing what she was trying, what to try, whole body like gone, just the mouth like maddened, so on, keep what? The buzzing, yes, all the time, the buzzing, dull roar like falls in the skull, and the beam poking around, painless, so far, huh? So far, all that, keep on trying, not knowing what she was. What? Who? No! She! What she was trying, what to try. No matter, keep on, hit on it in the end. Then back, God, His love, tender mercies, back in the field, April morning, face in the grass, nothing but the larks. Pick it up, from there, no idea what you're saying, imagine, no idea what you're saying to us back.